So once again, good evening, everyone. So before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge our co-sponsors for the evening. First, Community Board 14. I know Chair Sean Campbell, or rather District Manager Sean Campbell, Chair Alvin Burker here, so thank you so much. Canva and Caitlin Brazil, who's here representing them, thank you. We have the Flatbush Development Corp. And Robin Redmond representing FDC, thank you so much. Crown Heights Jewish Community Council, Rabbi Eli Cohen is here. And I see Kanina Sperling as well. Thank you, Kanina. And the Ditmas Park Rehab and Care Center, Mendel Rottenberg is here as well. Thank you so much. And I'd like to bring up one of our other co-sponsors, Roy Hastic from Khaki, to say a few words.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, good evening. Just can't stand, and thank you. Mr. Mayor, Bill Blasio, distinguished elected officials, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to be here this evening with my wife and our two key board members, our chairman and our treasurer, Mr. Sadio and Mr. Pitt, to lend our support to your plan, Mr. Mayor, to build and protect 200,000 affordable apartments in New York City. It is my understanding that this plan will provide enough housing for at least 500,000 people. Congratulations. The Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Caribbean American community here in New York City congratulate you on assisting us in selecting the developer to develop our project on Flatbush and Caton for 166 units of affordable housing, which will provide jobs, and it's also in the 48th district, Councilman Matthew Eugene, and create jobs and provide community space in the community. I also want to thank you, Mr. Mayor and EDC, for doing an excellent job for housing development in our community. I also understand that the city has committed to the use of subsidies to drive rents down so it's affordable for even more families, including those individuals making as little as $18,000 per year. Your plan, Mr. Mayor, will pave the way for new senior housing, which we'll need as our citizens, including myself, and members who are aging and have some gray hair like me and my wife, about to retire. We are pleased that you, Mr. Mayor, are doing more than ever before to help working people, especially in this district in East Flatbush, to stay in their neighborhoods and ensure that New York City remains a place for everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hastic. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our moderator this evening, Councilmember Matthew Eugene.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you. My brothers and sisters, as you know, my name is Matthew Eugene, and I am your city council member. Yeah. Thank you. Before I say anything, let me one more time take the opportunity to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to serve you and to represent the most beautiful, diverse, and vibrant district in New York City, the 48th district. I don't want to speak too much. But before I introduce the man of the hour, let me introduce one of my colleagues from the city of New York, because there's nothing you can do if you don't work together. Nothing at all. Regardless of who you are, you can achieve success and greatness by working together. We in the City Council, we have 51 members, and we work together. We don't agree all the time, but we work together to ensure that we address the issues affecting all New Yorkers. Let me now, without any further ado, call one of my colleagues, Council Member David Greenfield. Would you please come? The chairman and the Land Use Committee and the City Council.
Thank you very much. You know, I've been privileged to know Dr. Eugene since before he was an elected official. We worked together with an organization that he ran. The organization was called Yes, and that was a youth group in the community that Dr. Eugene worked very hard to provide different opportunities for the young people. And I will tell you that we've come full circle, because as the chair of our youth committee, nobody fights more for the youth in New York City than Dr. Matthew Eugene. And I will tell you that he is leading the fight for summer youth employment programs, which is so critical to so many people in all of our communities. Let's please give Dr. Eugene a big round of applause. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have to say, you know, when Dr. Eugene talks about the team doesn't just extend itself on one side of City Hall to the City Council. It also extends itself to the other side. We have a very unique circumstance. For the first time in 20 years, we have a Democrat in the mayor's office in City Hall, and that is something we can all be happy about. Let's give our great Democratic mayor a big round of applause. And you can see that the priorities have changed. You know, our mayor, when he was running for office, he made a promise. And the truth is, if you turn on the TV on any given night, you'll see many people who are running for office, especially on the Republican side, someone whose name rhymes with rump, who they make all sorts of promises, and every night they'll promise you something else. Whatever you want to hear, they will tell you so that you vote for them. The mayor made a key promise when he ran for office. He said, folks, I understand that one of the biggest challenges in the city of New York is finding an affordable place to live. And he made a promise that, quite frankly, many people at the time thought was crazy. He said that he would build and preserve 200,000 units of affordable housing in New York City. So as the chairman of the Land Use Committee, Dr. Eugene asked me to come tonight to report to you. And I have two things to tell you. The first is that, believe it or not, this is truly shocking, because nobody would have believed this, but under Mayor Bill de Blasio, he has now preserved and created more affordable housing than any other mayor before. In just 2 years, 40,000 units of affordable housing. That's astounding. And a lot of that credit goes to his outstanding team, especially the HPD Commissioner, Vicki Bean, who's with us here tonight. Let's give her a big round of applause. 40,000 is more than ever before. But the mayor sat down with his team, and he sat down with the folks at city planning, and he said, we got to do more. How do we do more? The way we do it is very simple. In New York City, we do something that's called rezonings all the time. We give people permission to build. It used to be a gas station. Well, now we're going to let you build 100 units of housing. This mayor came up and said, listen, we're not going to give you something for nothing. We're not just going to give you free space to build and you're not going to give us back. He came up with an idea, which is really a model for the country, and he says, we are going to mandate, we are going to force you that if you rezone, if you turn a gas station into units of housing, that you must have affordability in every single one of those projects. It's the first program of its kind in the country, and the mayor proposed it. But let me tell you what Matthew Eugene did, and this is what's part of the partnership. The mayor's proposal originally was an excellent proposal, and the proposal was that at the lowest end, you could build affordability for families who are making $46,000 or less. Dr. Matthew Eugene said, that's pretty good, but we can do better. It was at his insistence. And I was standing with him in the council and the closed-door meetings where he would get up and he would push and he would say, in my communities, I need even deeper affordability. And thanks to Dr. Eugene's leadership and thanks to the partnership with the mayor, today we actually announced that we will have deeper affordability. We're going to have the first city in America where you can have an option to build mandate. You can mandate 20% or below of that housing for families who are making less than $31,000 for a family of 3. And I will tell you, nobody worked harder than Dr. Matthew Eugene to make that happen. And so that's why I wanted to come here tonight. I wanted to come here tonight to tell you about what's happening, but also to thank him. You have one of the staunchest allies, one of the biggest fighters in New York City, and it's not just because, as some of you know, he is a black belt in martial arts, so of course he's a natural fighter. But he is an unbelievable political fighter, and literally to the last minute today, I was in the room, and he was pushing, and he was saying, more affordability, we can do more. And thanks to him and thanks to the partnership with the mayor, we have done more. And so tonight we have something unique. We have 2 elected officials, a mayor and a council member who work together but do something that really in politics doesn't happen a lot, and that is they keep their commitments to the community. That's why I'm here tonight. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Congratulations, Dr. Eugene, and thank you. Great to see our mayor, Bill de Blasio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you. But before I introduce the mayor, please join me to welcome another elected official, Assembly Member Rodney Bichot.
Thank you so much. Wow. First, I want to thank the mayor and Dr. Matthew Eugene for holding this town hall. Thank you so much for your leadership, for caring about our #1 issue in the district. I represent the 42nd Assembly District. This is my district as well. Welcome. And affordable housing has been the #1 issue. Now, first, let me take my breath. I literally just came from Albany, okay?
You ran the whole way.
I ran the whole way. I am wet, but I felt that this was important. I needed to be here with my mayor. I needed to be here with my councilman and Councilman Greenfield. But most importantly, I needed to be here for all of you. I need to hear the concerns. While our council members and our mayors and the commissioner is fighting here, we are fighting up in Albany to making sure that we secure funds for affordable housing. We have an issue this year as the mayor rolled out something unbelievable, 200,000 units of affordable housing. That was his plan, and that's been his commitment. We have issues in the state, in the Capitol, where they are putting barriers to make it even harder for us to fund the 200,000 affordable units. So while we have our people here fighting, we are up there fighting to make sure that these barriers are lifted. Today, we are voted on the one-house budget in Albany. We call it the people budget. Again, I had to rush out. I was excused. It passed, but I needed to be here to support our mayor, our council members, our commissioners who's been working so hard to address the #1 issue, which is affordable housing. Without affordable housing, millions of New Yorkers are being pushed out. Without affordable housing, it impacts our children's ability to learn. Why? Because there's no stability, okay? There's no stability, and when you don't have any stability, our children are impacted and affected. When we don't have shelter, we don't have food, we don't have the right quality of life. So it's really important to understand how each and every one of us are working together in partnership to make sure that this commitment comes through. We are very proud of our mayor. When he ran for office, That was one of his #1 priorities. His priority was around education. He got UPK rolled out. Yeah. He worked with many of the labor forces, making sure that all the labor forces have contracts. Give him. He's working on safer streets, working on building community and policing so that we have a policy and process in place so that our children, our families are safe. He had hired a lot more, thousands of more policemen into the police force. Let's give him a round of applause for that. But again, affordable housing, that's the reason why we're here today. We want to make sure that we keep our New Yorkers, residents who spend their whole life building the city, we want to make sure that they still have a place here, a place where they can grow, live, have the quality of life. We believe in the New York value, and that's what the New York value is about. This city is the model of the world. We are the capital of the world. And we got to make sure that our commitment to our New Yorkers are seen through. So, again, my name is Assemblymember Rodnice Bichot. I'm a freshman legislator. We're working really hard. We are excited for our progressive mayor who's doing the work that he's been elected to do. I'm happy he's in my district, Councilman Matthew Eugene and I district. And I just want to say thank you for being concerned citizens, for being here tonight. Thank you for being civically engaged, because without your voices, we can't do anything. We won't know what to do. Without your voices, we cannot put pressure on the barriers that has been keeping us behind for so many years. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Matthew Eugene. I look forward to hearing all of my constituents, all of our constituents, and their concerns. I'm going to take each and every one of your issues. I'm going to take it to Albany, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to turn it into legislation to enforce and give the power of the people, give it back. We got to give the power back to the people, okay? We're going to turn it around and make things happen. So again, thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Bichot. Thank you so much. My brothers and sisters, let me first take the opportunity to thank on your behalf and also on behalf of all my constituents and on behalf of all New Yorkers and also on my own behalf, I want to thank the mayor of the city of New York, the Honorable Bill de Blasio. He graciously accepted my invitation to come to the district to explain his affordable housing plan to you. Mr. Mayor, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. I know how busy you are. As city council members, we are very busy, Greenfield? Yes. Very busy. What needs? We are very busy. What about the mayor? So thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedule to come to listen to my constituent, to our constituent. I had the opportunity to meet with many of you. I had the opportunity to meet with your organization, Block Association, Community Board Organization. And I heard your issues, your concern. You have many issues and many concerns. And let me tell you, I met with the mayor and I addressed your issues. And I was not afraid to let him know what you are thinking about. He knows me. We know each other over 20-something years, right? Way before we were elected. But let me tell you, he was listening to me with great interest and compassion. He told me, Matthew, I love the idea. I want to come to the district to talk to the people. And let me tell you one thing. We don't agree all the time. We don't. This is the nature of the business we are in. But when it is about doing something that will improve the quality of life of the people that we are serving, we have the moral obligation to find a common ground and to work together to make sure we better New York City, to make sure that we improve the quality of life of people. And I'm convinced that the Mayor de Blasio is working hard, and he will do everything that he can to address your issues. I'm saying that not because he's here. No. He knows me. I talk, I say what I have to say. But I had the privilege to work together with him to address very important issues, to bring solution to very important issues, difficult issues. And I think that Assembly Member Woodneys mentioned some of them, and David mentioned one of them, some of them. David mentioned that, I was providing services to the young people in the community. But our young people, they are the future of this nation. Right. They are the future of the community, of the city. When we invest in the young people, we invest in the future of the city and also in the future of this nation. And thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to let you know, when I was providing services to the youth and to their parents, the Mayor, Bill de Blasio, was one of my supporters. I'm talking about 20-something years before. I'm not telling you how old I am, but that's a long time. And for the first time in the history of New York City, the young people receive more resources, more jobs, more opportunities than ever before. For that also, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Now, let me tell you, affordable housing is a basic human right. And we have the obligation, we in government, to do everything that we can do to provide to everyone a place that he or she can call home. And you know that the mayor is doing everything possible to reach that goal. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome the mayor of the city of New York, the Honorable Bill de Blasio. With your permission, Mr. Mayor, I don't want time, because it's happened to me already that some of my constituents come and say, Matthew, what you did, you didn't even acknowledge us. But I want first to thank the partners, all the organization, and also your staff, the wonderful staff and my staff. They work together to put this together. And please put your hands together for the principal of PS6, please, for hosting us. Thank you so much. Y ahora quiero agradecer a mis estimados hermanos y hermanas para venir aquí. A ustedes, muchísimas gracias de todo corazón. Ahora es un momento muy importante para ustedes todos, para mí y también para nuestros niños. Gracias por venir. Fue Maximio. Ça passé? Ça passé? All right. This is New York City. This is a place for everyone. So, Fue Maximio, tellement content moi nous là. C'est ça que fait m'inviter nous. On voulait pour nous faire partie de table là tout. Faut nous là sous table là. Nous pas gagner un mandat là pour nous pas utiliser. Oubliez pas ça. En tout cas, merci d'être que nous venus. Et je remercie le maire. Ça, maire fait là, les bénéficiaires pour nous tous. Et nous tous capables de bénéficier. Merci un peu. Merci. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. I have been a friend of Mathieu Eugene for many years, but I must admit I'm a little disappointed he has not addressed you this evening in either Urdu or Yiddish. I thought you could do it all. I thought you were going to complete the set. You know? It is a joy to be with you all this evening. And I always find these meetings are an affirmation of democracy. They remind us that people care deeply for their community and they're willing to do something about it. So every single one of you here tonight, I thank you, because I know you're here because of your deep concern. And I want to say a few things up front, and then I want to take questions, comments, and get into a real dialogue. And I want to focus on affordable housing, but we have lots of commissioners here who I will introduce in a moment. We're here to handle any issue you may want to bring up. Now, first of all, Mathieu is right. We go back a long way together. And when I first met him, what was unmistakable was he felt something that was personal, some sense of responsibility that was much deeper than what I'd normally found in leaders in terms of his commitment to young people. He felt he had a personal responsibility to help young people move forward and to be a role model and to teach. And it was not just words. It was obviously a calling for him. And that has informed his work in the City Council. I've been honored to support him every step of the way in his career. And I think he's done many good things, and he's been a friend many times along the way, and we've worked together in partnership. But if there's one thing you could say about a public servant, it should be that their heart actually was with the young people, and Matthew's is. Let's thank him for that. I thank my elected colleagues. I thank Councilmember David Greenfield, who plays such an important role as the chair of the Land Use Committee. It's been a very busy few weeks, but we've gotten to a great place, and thank you for your leadership helping us create all that affordable housing. And it is not easy representing us in Albany. Albany is not a fun place. But Assemblymember Rodney Bishop, you go to bat for us every time. You're doing great work in Albany. I want to thank you. And particularly for standing up for minority and women-owned businesses and leading the way on that issue. We thank you. And I will be talking a lot in the coming weeks about legislation that Rodney Bishop is sponsoring in Albany to actually help the city of New York provide a lot more contracts to women and minority-owned businesses. So let's make sure we all support her in that good work. Principal Sharon Porter, thank you for all the good here at PS6. And here, every child is told, if they choose, they have the opportunity to go to college. And that's the goal. Every child who wants to take that path is empowered to take that path. And that is such important work. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Now, we have a phrase that some of us in political life here like to use. We say we remember who we came to the dance with. It's a good thing to remember in romantic life, too. Remember who you came to the dance with. So I came to the dance with Una Clark, and I want to thank her for all she has done along the years. And the wonderful Leslie Clark, thank you for all you do. And we don't have the honor of having the Congresswoman with us this evening. I know she's serving us in Washington. Talk about Albany being a tough place. Washington's a really tough place. But we thank Yvette Clark for all she does. And Una, thank you for your service to the city now as my representative from Brooklyn on the City University of New York board. Thank you very, very much for all you're doing. Now, this is a part of each town hall meeting I especially enjoy. When I'm about to introduce these wonderful leaders of the administration, these are hardworking, committed public servants. I've been in public life a long time. You are not going to find a harder working group than this. So much so that at the conclusion of this town hall meeting, they will gratefully stay as long as you want them to talk about your individual issues. They love nothing more than talking about whatever issue you want to bring to them. They have nothing to do this evening. They'll be here all night.
We'll hold you to that.
Yes, please do. I would enjoy it if you would. So, I'm going to introduce them all. You can clap for all of them at once as we go through, but these are really people who do so much for us. And by the way, the combined here in these few rows are the people who make New York City work. And if you have a problem, they really are the right people to talk to because they do amazing things for the city. Here we go. The Sanitation Commissioner of New York City, Catherine Garcia. The Commissioner of Finance, Jacques Giha. The General Manager of the New York City Housing Authority, Michael Kelly. Commissioner for the Aging, Donna Corrado. Our Health Commissioner, Dr. Mary Bassett. The Commissioner who grew up just a few blocks from here, our Commissioner for Small Business Services, Greg Bishop. The woman who has to create all that affordable housing, HPD Commissioner Vicki Bean. Commissioner for the Human Resources Administration, Steve Banks. From the Department of Consumer Affairs, Acting Commissioner Alba Pico and Deputy Commissioner Amit Baga. The President of the School Construction Authority, Lorraine Grillo. The Brooklyn Borough Commissioner for Buildings, Department of Buildings, Ira Gluckman. Chief Development Officer at the Economic Development Corporation, Carolee Fink. Deputy Chancellor for New York City Department of Education, Dorita Gibson. Brooklyn Borough Commissioner, Department of Transportation, Keith Bray. Assistant Commissioner for the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, Bida Mustafi. Now, from the NYPD, the Patrol Brooklyn Borough South Executive Officer, Deputy Chief Eric Rodriguez. From the 6-7 Precinct, Commanding Officer, Inspector Joseph Galata. 7-1 Precinct, Commanding Officer, Captain David Wall. And I'm pleased this evening to make a new introduction to many of you, for all of you who live in the 7-0 Precinct. Raise your hand if you're in the 7-0 Precinct. It's my pleasure to introduce to you your new Commanding Officer, Captain James Palumbo. Please stand up. Captain Palumbo wants to meet everyone from the 7-0 Precinct. He has nowhere else to go tonight, so just come up and say hi after. And the Executive Officer for the 7-0 Precinct, Captain James King. Borough Commissioner for Department of Parks, Kevin Jeffrey. From the City Commission on Human Rights, Deputy Commissioner for Law Enforcement, Hollis Fitch. Deputy Commissioner for Community Relations, Pascal Bernard. From City Planning, the Brooklyn Director, Winston Von Engel. From Department of Environmental Protection, Community Affairs Director, Ibrahim Abdul Matin. Basically, the entire government of New York City is in PS6 this evening. Anything happening anywhere in the city, they're not paying attention. Everything's being paid attention to in Flatbush tonight. All right, here we go. We're going to do this quick. Quick statistics you should know, quick things you should know. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about things other than affordable housing, a few minutes on affordable housing, then we're opening up. So, to do everything in this city, we have to be safe. And we said we could be more safe and more fair at the same time. Over the last 2 years, crime is down in New York City. Major crime categories down 5.8%. This is a safer city. Now let's thank the men of the NYPD who are here, and the men and women in the room who are here from the NYPD. Thank them all. We will have 2,000 more cops on the beat by the end of this year. 2,000 additional cops on the beat by the end of this year. And I want to thank the City Council for their key initiative to make that happen. We have a 500-plus officer critical response command, the most sophisticated, best trained, best armed counter-terror force that any police department in the nation has to stop terror attacks here in New York City, to prevent them from ever coming here. And I said safer and fairer. All those things are happening, all those improvements, all that progress against a backdrop where stop and frisk is down 93%. So we are safer and fairer at the same time. In the 6, 7, 7-0, and 7-1, they've done extraordinary things, reducing crime, and now, and this is very exciting, Commissioner Bratton and Chief O'Neill have a vision for neighborhood policing, something that has been talked about but never really achieved in this city. True neighborhood policing, where officers actually get to know community leaders and community members, and the community gets to know the officers, and they work in common cause, and they share information, they share a vision for how to make the community safer. This is now being played out with a new initiative, the Neighborhood Coordination Officers. This is a whole new approach to organizing each precinct. This has been in effect in the 6, 7 precincts since October. This new initiative, the NCO initiative, is coming to the 7-0 precinct next month, April, to the 7-1 precinct in June. And let me tell you, this is going to revolutionize policing. This is going to be one of the things we should have done a long time ago, and we're going to get it right this time to really draw police and community together. We know there are very tough issues in every community, and we know some communities have particular challenges that have been persistent. I'll give you one example: unlicensed social clubs. A real concern for a lot of people. It's a thorny problem. It's not an easy one. But if community and police work ever more closely, share more information, work constantly, that kind of problem can be beaten. It can be overcome. And that's what we intend to do. We know at the same time you need safety for everything else, but for society to work, for families to work, you need jobs. And you know what's happened in the last 2 years in this city is absolutely astounding. The last 2 years, 250,000 more jobs in New York City in just 2 years. 250,000 more jobs. That is the most jobs that have been created in this city in a 2-year period in our entire history. That is the all-time fastest amount of job growth in just 2 years we've ever had. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute, are all those jobs in Manhattan? Well, I said from the beginning we need a 5-borough economy. We're a 5-borough city. Most of us live in the outer boroughs. We need a 5-borough economy. We need opportunity for all. Well, listen to this. Of all the 5 boroughs over the last 2 years, in Brooklyn, jobs have grown 7.7%, the highest of any borough. The most job growth has happened in Brooklyn, and we're proud of that. So these are the kinds of big things we have to do to change the lives of people all over the city. And we need affordable housing. And I promised you this would be the main point. I have a couple other quick public service announcements I'll make before I open up, but here's my simple point. You heard a lot from Matthew and David, so I'll just wrap it together very nicely. Once upon a time in this city, there was affordable housing. Once upon a time, it got created naturally by the free market, and then we all saw the prices go through the roof, and we saw the city get less and less affordable. And we saw it harder and harder for working people to make ends meet in this city. And a city that had been historically for every kind of person started to feel more exclusive, started to feel harder to live in. And New York City was always meant to be a place for every kind of person. That is our strength. That is our magic. That's our secret formula, that we're a place for everyone. When we started to lose that affordable housing, something started to change in us, and we couldn't go about things the same old way. We couldn't simply let the developers decide our fate. We couldn't let the private real estate industry be the only player on the playing field. It was time for the government to stand up on behalf of the people. It was time for some new rules. It was time for us to say that we must require affordable housing. wherever there's major new development in this city, we must require affordable housing. David went over it very powerfully. The old rules are outdated. The new reality is that if we're not requiring developers to create affordable housing, we won't be the same city anymore. I want to thank the city council members who've been working so hard with us. They have a big vote next week, and I've been saying, and I believe it, people will look back at this month of March 2016 and recognize it as a watershed moment for this city, that this was the month in which we started to turn the tide and save an affordable city and keep this a city for everyone, because we made a new law, we made a new rule that said from now on, affordable housing is literally a prerequisite, a condition. We're saying to developers, if you want the right to build something new, if you get a rezoning, you cannot build anything unless it includes affordable housing. It's as simple as that. And we also recognize that there's many, many people who need affordable housing. There's people who are working who need affordable housing. There are people who are retired and need affordable housing. There are people who have very low incomes and need affordable housing. There are people who have middle incomes and need affordable housing. It cuts across the gamut. But I could say from my heart, you know who needs it the most? Are our seniors. Our seniors, so many of whom are on fixed incomes. I want you to dwell on that phrase, fixed incomes, because the price of housing keeps going up and up and up, but the incomes are fixed. They're not moving. And the number of seniors is growing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a blessing. People are living longer. Families are having that blessing. But it doesn't help you to live longer if you can't afford a place to live. So we need more affordable housing for seniors. And the legislation we have in that the City Council will vote on is going to unlock a lot of parts of this city that previously we couldn't build senior housing on. We're now going to be able to. And it's urgent. Everything with affordable housing is urgent. I bet everyone in this room is either struggling or knows someone who is to pay the rent. Right? This is not hard for anyone to understand because it's happening all over the city. If that's what's happening to all of us, we need to do something different. And that's why we are insisting that affordable housing creation will now be mandatory and that we need a lot more senior affordable housing. That's what I'm asking people to support. And Matthew has been a good friend. He's listened carefully to my arguments, and I've listened very carefully to the concerns he's raised. And he's brought forward many concerns on behalf of the community. I believe the final product that the council will vote on will reflect a lot of the things community members have raised. I think it's going to be a fair compromise. But most importantly, it's going to allow us to finally create the affordable housing we need. Now, I want to say one other thing about affordable housing. This plan, David talked about it, Mathieu talked about it. The plan I have is enough for 500,000 people. Affordable housing for 500,000 people. Whether it's keeping them in the apartments they're in right now and providing the support so they can stay there and have long-term affordability, or whether it's building new affordable housing. This plan, over the course of the next 8 years, will reach 500,000 New Yorkers. But it's not enough. So we have to do three other things. One, we have to protect the 400,000 New Yorkers who live in public housing in this city. And that begins with a very clear message. Over my dead body will we ever privatize our NYCHA buildings. We will protect them. We will protect them, we will invest in them, we will strengthen NYCHA, we will put it on a firm footing. 400,000 people will have their affordable housing protected in the process. 500,000 people in the new plan, 400,000 in NYCHA. What else? There's 1 million rent-stabilized apartments, and over 2 million people live in them. Well, it used to be that every year came around, and landlords would ask for a rent increase, and the rent increase would happen whether it was fully justified or not, until we named a new rent guidelines board and we said, go ahead and look at the actual facts. Remember how in the last few years we've heard that the price of oil has gone down, the price of gas has gone down? Well, we looked at the actual facts and it turned out that landlords' expenses hadn't gone up, And so for the first time in history, he said, if their expenses haven't gone up, then we are going to implement a rent freeze, a 0 increase in rents for rent-stabilized apartments. So that reached over 2 million people. Finally, all over the city, we have seen people who have been forced out of their apartments illegally. Illegally. People who are told, and by the way, I'm going to say from the beginning, most landlords are law-abiding. Most landlords do what they're supposed to do. There are some who are unscrupulous. The ones who are unscrupulous have told people they have to leave, even though they didn't have to leave. Have told people that the rent was this level up here when, in fact, it was supposed to be down here. Have forced people out illegally. Have harassed tenants. Have not given them heat, hot water. That's not legal. It's not legal to force someone out of an apartment if they have a proper lease. So we realized that this had to stop, and the way it had to stop was to give everybody who needed a lawyer to protect them a lawyer for free. For free. So now it's as simple as this. Under my plan, we have by 10 times increased the amount of money for legal aid and legal services, over $60 million. So anyone who is faced with illegal eviction or harassment by a landlord can pick up a phone, dial 311, and have access to a lawyer for free to defend their rights. And I need everyone in this room to spread that word. Because if you know of anybody who feels they're being harassed or being forced out, they need to know they can call 311 and get a lawyer. So that is the larger vision for affordable housing. And we think it can make a huge difference with your help. Finally, I'm going to tell you that there's some things you should know. It's very quick. You should know, whether we like it or not, tax time is coming up. But a lot of people have a right to the Earned Income Tax Credit, which means you get money back. If you make $62,000 a year or less, you have a right to free tax preparation help from the City of New York, and you can dial 311. If you qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, you could end up getting thousands of dollars back on your taxes. So if you either need help with tax prep or you think you might qualify for an income tax credit, call 311, ask our friends here from Consumer Affairs. They'll help you, and there may be money owed to you. Second, we want people to know that the ID NYC, our municipal identification card, is something extraordinary that offers lots of benefits and makes it easier for so many people to go about their business in the city. And it's free. So if you know anyone who doesn't have identification or anyone who's struggling for lack of identification, they should get an ID NYC. Third, there are too many people who have been victims of immigration fraud. There are too many people who have seen bad actors in the community claim to help them and then take their money. We are cracking down on immigration fraud, including in this community. Our Department of Consumer Affairs is sending undercover investigators out to look for any signs and have been inspecting in this community, and they will issue fines anytime they find that immigrants are being treated illegally and inappropriately. So if you know of any instance of someone being defrauded, you can also call 311, or you can tell our colleagues right here from the Department of Consumer Affairs. So those are the big messages I wanted to give you this evening. I want you to know how much I appreciate this opportunity to share those ideas with you. I really want to ask everyone to spread this information, particularly letting people know how their rights can be defended so we can protect them, protect their families, protect affordable housing. With that, it would be my honor now, Mr. Moderator, to take any questions from this wonderful audience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me, you can do better than that. Give a big round of applause to Mr. Mayor from the 40th District. Thank you. So please, before you speak, state your name and the organization you belong to, please, if you belong to an organization. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming mic?
You got a microphone.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mayor, for coming tonight.
You must
Thank you,
not be a politician because no politician would turn down a microphone.
I just got a loud mouth. Thank you, Council Member, and thank you, Anis Bashad.
Is it on, though? Is that microphone on?
Yes.
There we go.
I believe so.
There you
Okay.
go. Good.
My question is a two-part question. Mr. Mayor, what zone do your plan covers, and how will it help people making 25 and less per year?
Thank you very much. So the affordable housing plan covers the entire city. And I say when you think about the different pieces of it, the 500,000 people will benefit. That means, again, people right now living in apartments, as well as people who will get apartments in new buildings. I want to explain this because it's important. When we say we're going to preserve affordable housing, that means we take a building that we realize needs help. Maybe it needs some physical improvements. The tenants will need some support to keep it affordable. And we make a plan for that building. We invest in that building. And then we have a guarantee that the tenants in that building will have 30 years or even more in some cases of affordability, and they will pay no more than 30% of their income for housing. No more than 30% for housing. That's actually a figure that people can afford. So whatever their income is, 30%. That's the preserved housing. The new housing, again, is for different. We have different types for seniors, for folks with disabilities, for working people, for people on fixed incomes. We have different types of housing available. But the other pieces I mentioned, what we're doing with rent-stabilized tenants, that's all over the city. What we're doing with the Housing Authority, that's all over the city. And stopping harassment and eviction, that's all over the city. So this will affect every neighborhood one way or another. Thank you.
Yes, Miss.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Mayor.
Here you go. You get a microphone, too.
Oh, I have such a big mouth that I think everybody could hear me. I'm well known to Councilmember Eugene Matthew and also to Assembly Member Rodney Bishart. And I'm working with your wife on the 7th of May for NAMI.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, you
Thank
like
you.
that?
Excellent.
I am from Flatbush Tenants Coalition.
Uh-huh.
And we have 49 tenants groups in our coalition, including Flatbush Gardens, which knows thousands of people. Housing court, 14 rooms for landlords, 1 for tenants. Harassment, that's right. That's how it goes.
Get ready, Steve. This is
One
our
for
this is our
tenants.
expert here.
Is that right?
Well, everything you this is one of this. Steve Banks is now running HRA, but for decades ran the Legal Aid Society. So he's a true expert on defending folks in housing court. So she's saying how many rooms for landlords?
14 for landlords, 1 for tenants.
All right. So you're going to respond in a moment. Get ready. Go ahead.
We were in Albany last year fighting for the rent laws.
Yes.
When you said affordable housing, I'm very wary. I am wondering what this affordable housing really means. We have MCIs, major capital improvement. The rent is increased for something that the landlord does. He gets paid for it for the rest of my life, his life, and everybody. It stays on. They didn't take it off. Then they have the famous preferential rent, where they register downtown at $1,000. They rent you for $800. You do not read the fine print. Nobody explains it to you, to a new tenant. They don't check their rent history. They get a 1-year lease. The next year, preferential rent is over. Suck it to you. You got the $200 increase.
Yep.
You have to move. And where do you move to? The shelter, if there is shelter, or you take up space on a subway. That's how it is. So we need to get deregulation. It was $2,500. Now it went up to $1,000. And we are really, really troubled in Flatbush. I have lived in Ditmas Park since 1977. And we had a meeting on Saturday. And people are coming there. They are dying. I have a tenant over there from 2010 Newkirk. You should see her building. When the roof collapsed, She taught her child, she took the child to Kings County. She thought it was mosquito bites. You know what? She thought it was measles. It was mosquito bites. There was water in the ceiling. And the landlord is still collecting rent. They had a fire in there, and it's just now getting to the server. So it's very bad over here. And we from Flatbush Tenants Coalition, we're working hard. We're willing to work with you, but we need to get some, we need to hear something
Sure.
good.
I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. I appreciate, thank you for your leadership. I appreciate everyone who's in. Again, thank you for going to Albany. That is the supreme sacrifice, going to Albany. So thank you. Thank you. So thank you for all you have done, but thank you. Look, tenants have had to stand up for themselves in a very hostile environment. And thank God they did, because it would have been a lot worse. And I think all that I have heard tenants wanted was a government that was on their side, because ultimately they have felt the government was too often on the side of landlords indiscriminately, blindly. And I have a very different view of what we have to do than what's happened in the past. I don't agree with the status quo that I received as mayor, because I think tenants, as I said, the whole reality of this city as an affordable place has been endangered, and that is for many reasons. Now, I want you to hear in a moment from Steve Banks, who will talk about what we are doing, because you said right to counsel. I want you to hear about what we are doing right now, again, when someone's harassed or evicted illegally, because it's not like anything that's ever been done before, and he has perfect memory on this point. I want him to describe the difference to you and how easy it is now to get a lawyer compared to the past. I want you to hear from Vicki Bean for a moment on the point about what we are doing to make affordable housing truly affordable for communities, and how we approach it, each community trying to be sensitive to what it needs. But I also need to say that we could use a lot more help in Albany. We really could, and the Assemblywoman is working very hard. But we need more change in Albany. I was fighting for much bigger protections for tenants than were ultimately achieved in the last session. We got something, but it wasn't enough. And we have to go back and win that battle, because so far our rent laws are not keeping up with our reality. They just aren't. And I'm very committed to it. And bluntly, some of my predecessors just stood idly by while our rent laws were chipped away and chipped away. I think they need to be deeply strengthened, because I think this is what is necessary in an affordability crisis, and I'm going to be going back time and again to do that. Let me let you hear from Steve and Vicki for a moment. Please.
We are trying. We would love the Earth law to be repealed.
I agree. I agree. I agree. They're saying the Erstat law, which is a law that makes these decisions about rent-regulated apartments somehow something that happens in Albany instead of something that happens here where it affects our own people. And I agree that should be repealed and the power should be here. And I have been working for it, and I will keep working for it, I assure you. Steve Banks, then Vicki Bean. Oh, sorry, you have one already.
You have the mayor's.
There you go.
Nice to see you. First of all, for your colleague over there on, where are you living? On Newkirk? Someone, right there. Someone from my colleague from HRA is right there. Is going to take your information. We're going to see if we can get some lawyers to that building to see what we can do to address those conditions. When I used to run the Legal Aid Society, we would turn away 8 people for every 1 we could represent because of lack of resources. And the difference that the mayor's program is making is now we've increased the amount of money available for groups like legal services and legal aid 10 times what it used to be, from $6.5 million to next year $62 million. So all around town, the legal services and legal aid groups are able to serve many more people. And we'll keep looking and seeing what more we can do. So someone like your friend over there who you mentioned, we're going to see if we can get some lawyers into that building. But it's not just HRA working to fund lawyers, working as a team with HPD in terms of enforcing conditions. Obviously, we know well that 400,000 affordable apartments were lost as a result of the rent regulation issues that you raised. But what the mayor's given us the ability to do is to represent case-by-case tenants, building-by-building tenants, to put a stop to the kinds of things that have gone on in the past. So together, we're going to work together, and I know HPD is involved in this as well.
And let me pick up on this for a second. So because we started giving more legal support to tenants, in the last 2 years, evictions are down 24%. 24% reduction. We have more to do because we do not want to see a single illegal eviction. Now, this is, again, everyone in this room, I've said you need to spread the word that people can call 311. But another thing that would help us for the Tenants Council, identify anyone you believe is endangered and let us know or let the councilman know so we can do just what the commissioner said and get a lawyer to them. We don't want to be passive about this. If you know someone who's threatened with illegal eviction, we want to get to them right away. And we need you to be our ally in that.
Well, we have, fortunately for us, we have South Brooklyn Legal Services working with us. But there are other people who do not belong to Flatbush Tenants Coalition. There are a lot of other tenants in Brooklyn that's really hurting. They're really, really hurting.
And also, the public advocate went to this building as well, and we had a news conference there, and this was in the dead of winter, and mosquitoes flying around all in the hallway. Now, I'm from the South, and I've never seen mosquitoes fly in a building in the middle of winter biting you.
Thank you. Well, and that's where we want to get lawyers to that building. So whatever you find a case like that, the councilman needs to know, we need to know. Commissioner.
Yeah, so I also want to make the point that the legal services are available not just to tenants who belong to, or not just through South Brooklyn Legal Services, but all over the city, right? So people should call. And of course, if there's a condition in a building, people should always call 311. Our inspectors, my inspection team is here. We will be out in that building trying to make sure that it's exterminated or whatever it is that's required, right? But you ask also about the levels of affordability. And one of the things in the past, we relied very heavily, the city relied very heavily on the low-income housing tax credit program. And that meant that most of the units were targeted towards people making $46,000 to $62,000. The mayor is very committed to making sure that we serve a range of incomes, people below that, people above that, because people of all levels of income are having trouble getting affordable housing, as you know. So we've broadened our programs. We now have programs that serve people making $18,000, $23,000, $25,000, up above the $60,000 to $70,000, $80,000, so that we're serving a whole range of people from car wash attendants to nurses, et cetera. So we've really broadened our program so that we're aiming at different incomes all along the spectrum. Okay?
That's what they'll be voting on next week. So it is good. All right. And I want to say, Vicki mentioned the team that makes sure that people get repairs when they need it. When you call 311, you don't have heat and hot water. It's a very dedicated group of city employees that actually go and make sure people get their heat and hot water restored. And Deputy Commissioner Vito Mastacciolo and his team, let's give them a round of applause and thank them for what they do.
Okay. Who was first? All right.
Is this on? Okay, good. So I'm going to try to keep it really short. I don't want to hog the mic. I know we got a lot of questions tonight. I'm going to go really fast. So I represent the National Alliance of HUD Tenants, DYCD Community Action Board Executive Committee for Community Service Block Grant Monies. I also am the outgoing president for the League of Women Voters for New York City. And I'm also the president of my tenant association, project-based Section 8 housing in Sunset Park. I say all of this because a lot of times Section 8 tenants are deemed as lazy, and I'm a full-time employee for the New York State Weatherization Assistance Program in Sunset Park Redevelopment Committee. My question. My housing development is in Sunset Park. It was founded in 1980, and we had 2,000 units of low-income, affordable housing, project-based Section 8. Since then, landlords have opted out of the program, and the gateway for low-income families has now shrunk to 408 apartments in my community. And my question to you is, can the city work with these landlords across the city for project-based Section 8 preservation and incentivize the tenants who pay market rent with no subsidies to give them first preference in HPD lotteries and Mitchell-Lamas in order to stimulate turnover in low-income subsidized housing?
I'll let Vicki Bean get into the details. We are looking for anywhere and everywhere that we can find an opportunity to preserve or build affordable housing. So Project Section 8 developments obviously are a really important part of that puzzle. Before Vicki talks about it, you obviously have a tremendous amount of knowledge, and Vicki will be able to speak your language. But before she does, I just want to remind everyone, I had the honor when I was in the City Council of passing a law to ensure that no one could ever be discriminated against because they had a Section 8 voucher. I understand, but I'm making the point because I want people to hear it. Anyone who has a Section 8 voucher, if a landlord turns you away and says, I'm not taking a voucher, or if you see an ad that says no vouchers or no programs, that is illegal. Illegal. So where are our friends from the Human Rights Commission? Put up your hands. Come on, hire a Human Rights Commission. There you go. All right. So if anybody knows of a situation where someone is discriminated against because they have a Section 8 voucher, the Human Rights Commission wants to know about it, and they can take action, and they can get that person money back. So, and you can call 311 if you have a situation like that as well. Vicki Bean.
So on the project-based voucher, we're working very hard to make sure that those stay in the program through a variety of different kinds of incentives, including carrots and sticks. So we now put loans where the interest accrues, and so that it's all due in a balloon at the end of the period, which is a big incentive to stay in the program and to re-up it. So we are working very hard to do that. The specific question that you raised about whether or not some people could have a preference in the lotteries, that's I'm afraid to say, a complicated question, because we are being sued over those lotteries, unfortunately, and so we are working to see how that lawsuit resolves itself.
Wait, you said the carrot is the low-interest loan. What's the stick?
No. Well, the carrot is the low-interest loan, and the stick is the balloon payment that you owe at the end of that low-interest loan if you don't stay in the program.
Nicely said.
Right.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Miss? No, she was first. All right, very good.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, good evening. Welcome to our community.
Thank you.
And good evening to all the officials here, all the elected officials. And of course, as you said, I didn't go to the ball with her, but she's one of the loveliest ladies in this community, and that is Miss Una Clark.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Good evening to you. Yes.
You're more elegant. I said the dance, you said the ball. You're more elegant than me.
I am from Crown Heights, Prospect Leopards Garden, and I'm so happy to be here this evening to be given the privilege to say a few words. I actually work for you when you were running for City Council, and I'm so happy to be in the same room with you tonight for the very first time since you've been in office. It's a pleasure. And I hope that you will be in Crown Heights for this same meeting. So to say that, let me get right ahead with what I want to say, because mine is a little painful. It's painful that I hear everything about affordable housing, but we always ask the question, affordable for who? Because we still don't know who it's affordable for. I have been living in a building since it was new, 1963. I've had 2 fires, been displaced, stay homeless with my kids. I have run the street, I have organized, I've run drug dealers out of the community, president of the 71st Precinct community for 30 years. And I have been the president of my tenants association.
Amen.
And I worked for the city for 20 years, got disabled from a job accident, and in 2007, the city HPD offered us a building, 265 Hawthorne Street, where they took the building for over $11 million in taxes, and they said, if the tenants want it, you can do this, do that, the HTP program. And I went out, and I run, like you said, she ran from Albany. I run all over the city, to your office, to Una Clark's office, to everybody's office, and I ran to Sean Donovan's office before he went to the White House to give him the application so we could get that building. And it's been 2007, a building that was supposed to be done in 2.5 years, where the tenants would own their apartment, paying HPT low-income co-op share as HDFC. I have been handcuffed and dragged out of the building, a disabled woman, by a non-for-profit agency that we choose to work with us as our sponsor, that agency, very good friends of HPD, I may say. Not calling any name tonight, but you will know later. But they're very good friends of HPD. Just check my address and you'll know who the sponsors are of 265 Hawthorne Street. They have had my roof came down on me. They have dumped stuff in my apartment. They have did everything. And a project that was supposed to take 2.5 years is now going 8 years. And we cannot still reach the step line. They brag about being friends of you, friends of the Attorney General, friends of everybody, but we know they're really friends of HPD. And to date, we are now where we should be getting this building. We were put on several, we went to court with them, and we won. The Corporation Council can tell you that. First, that it ever happened. And we won, and after we won, they warned us, tell your tenants, do this, do that, do this. But the thing is that these non-for-profit agencies are getting away with taking buildings, saying they're helping the tenants, and they are not.
Okay.
Right now, you have 100 buildings in HPD that is sitting there for the last 5 years, not coming off the ground. And they're waiting now to use our building as a model to get buildings back to these non-for-profit agencies. I have been in the building. We were supposed to get 55 tenants eligible. We had 63. They're not satisfied. Now we're supposed to be at the threshold. Today they called me to tell me all the tenants. Once again, Mr. Mayor, please.
No, I want to answer you.
I'm going to be quick.
Okay.
Today they called me to say all 64 tenants who reached more than the 80%. Rent, lease was renewed. Mine was not because they want my income verification. No, they have everybody's income verification, but they want mine because why? I am the one that's preventing them from getting the billing. And I'm saying to you, Mr. Mayor, this is something that you have to look into. These non-for-profit agencies that pretend to be not-for-profit and they're undercover for-profit, that is another area that you need to get to because they are criminals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to say I appreciate all the work you've done for the community. And I'm very sorry that that story had to be told because it's, for me, it's very hard to even believe that you've been put through so much after trying to help do something good. So what I would ask, Vicki Bean may have something she wants to say now, but I want to ask Vicki to personally look into this, and I will tell you that I don't know about the HPD of the past, but I know about the HPD of today in terms of the leadership today. Just let me finish. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yes? Yes? Thank you for that. But the HPD of today, led by this commissioner, does not follow the rules of the past and doesn't do everything the way it was done in the past. And I'm going to ask Vicki to personally investigate. And by the way, I want to know what happened in this case, but I want to know about the other cases like it, because if there's a pattern here, we obviously want to deal with it. So, Vicki, could you please, would you tell me your name again, ma'am? Ma'am? Or you can tell me her name for you.
Evelyn Williams.
Evelyn Williams, okay. Evelyn?
No, Evelyn.
Evelyn, sorry, Evelyn. Thank you, Evelyn. So, Vicki, will you have I'd like you personally to be involved, obviously, but I'd like a review, and I'd like to hear exactly what's happening. I'd like you to report back. Would you like to add anything about it?
265 Hawthorne Street, right? Yes. I will look into it personally, and we will see what's going on.
Okay, but what Vicki's going to personally review the situation and personally report back to me. I guarantee it.
Yes. Jay? Yes. Jay, I will come back to you because we have a lady here.
A lady or I?
Ladies always first. Miss, please. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good
How
evening.
are you, dear? What I'd like to say, I know another housing question, and this is for affordable housing. Now, I'm one of those people, like you said, fixed income and aging, okay? And I would like to know that based on July of 2013, now a lot of people from HPD, a lot of people in our area have been sent letters for downsizing. The houses, apartments used to be affordable. They are no longer affordable. And not only are they not affordable to us, that we have been told that we have to downsize and like pretty much relocate. They're saying 2 people to a bedroom, that I could sleep in the same bedroom with my 26-year-old son, that a teenager can sleep in the same bedroom as her 8-year-old sister and stuff. And so I would like to know, where is this affordable housing and why is that now being implemented as rules and regulations as far as downsizing, overpricing, and the agenda of 2-bedroom sleeping?
Okay, thank you. Look, I want to, Vicki, you can go into details, but I want to first give you the real world answer because I think it's important to level with people always. If we're in the middle of an affordable housing crisis, we can't do anything the way we did it. So I want people to understand the entire theory of what I'm trying to do here. We have to go to Albany and change the laws related to rent regulation. We have to here require the developers to build affordable housing. We have to protect the housing authority. We have to stop the illegal evictions. We have to charge people fair rents who are in rent stabilization based on actual objective numbers, not on the preference of landlords. These are all the kinds of changes we need to do. But we also have to make sure that every apartment that we're putting taxpayer money into to keep affordable is being used to the maximum. Now, that may not mean that what you're saying specifically in your case is being done right. Vicki will speak to it and she can look into it. I'm not saying every single thing that the government suggested is a good idea is always a good idea, but the theory is important here, the idea that we need to know that every affordable apartment is being used by the right number of people. We have in the housing authority, as you may have heard, for example, we have some seniors who are in apartments that used to be for a larger family. Say it's 2-bedroom and it's 1 senior. I understand humanly and emotionally why that senior wouldn't want to leave that, and I have sympathy for that. On the other hand, I have so many people struggling for a place to live and so many families. I'm looking for the most fair and judicious outcome. Can I get that senior a smaller apartment nearby and give a family the 2-bedroom? That's the theory of what's going on here. It has to be done the right way. So, go ahead. Yeah.
I have a 2-bedroom, and what they're doing is they're downsizing us. They're downsizing us, and not only downsizing, they overpriced it, whereas it's no longer affordable to me. It was affordable to me. Now it's no longer affordable to me if I don't downsize. So that's like they're saying, well, the living room now is considered sleeping quarters, it's a bedroom. You know, it's out of, I'm like, they said long as a living room has windows and outlets, it's considered a living room.
Well, I want you to hear what I'm saying, and then Vicki can go into detail. Again, we will review the specific situation you're in to make sure it's not wrong, okay? Because you're raising a point, you're saying, I think this is being done wrong. You have a right to be fully reviewed and make sure we're not doing something wrong. But I do want people to hear, if I'm going to be urgent about affordable housing, if I'm going to be looking under every stone, I have to do that consistently. And sometimes it's not going to be the ideal situation for people, but I have to make sure that every opportunity is there to put as many people into affordable housing as possible. That's the challenge. That's what I have to be real with you about. Now, in your particular case, Vicki, what can you say about how we can review this situation?
So I will take your name and we will review. We did when 2 years ago during sequestration, our Section 8 budget was cut dramatically. And the federal government gave us a choice. We can either take vouchers completely away from people, right, so that they had nothing, no voucher at all, or we can reduce, by asking people to downsize, we can do that. It was a horrible, painful choice. We thought it was wrong to have people lose their vouchers entirely so that they would become homeless, they would not have anything at all. So we asked people to downsize. We've cut back on that where we can. For example, we know there are very few studios out there in the world, so we don't require people to move into studios, even though that was what the federal government, suggested that we do. We've given an enormous number of accommodations for all, for senior citizens, for people with disabilities. So let me review your case, but it does go back to, we were faced the choice, do we, take a voucher away from somebody completely and not be able to provide anything to that person, or do we ask people to make accommodations?
Like I said, my son is 20.
No, we hear you. We hear you.
I sent you a copy also.
Right, and she will follow up, but beyond your case, okay, she's going to follow up. But again, because it's a town hall meeting for everyone, beyond your very valid point, I want people to hear what the commissioner just said. The federal government used to actually be involved in helping us create more affordable housing. That doesn't happen anymore. In fact, you heard what they just told us we had to do. Take away Section 8 vouchers from people who had them. That's how bad it is. I'm not here looking for excuses or trying to offer excuses. I'm saying, let's be real. New York City is typically on its own when it comes to creating affordable housing. The federal government we used to know that was our friend, that came to our rescue, isn't there anymore. The state government isn't doing all it could do. We here in the city have to make do with what we have, and that causes some tough choices, but we will look at your case.
Thank you very much. Mo?
Good evening.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you, Mayor, in the House and up close. I want to address this concerning the real estate. Hope one of the agencies might be able to answer this question. We are suffering. And I think it worked in concert with tenants, housing, and the rest. So can you please ask an agency to address that for us, please?
Wait, say it a little more specifically.
Real estate taxes.
Taxes, yes.
Yes.
So I can start by, and then Jacques Gihar, our finance commissioner, can add. So I assume, sir, what you're referring to is that you have seen the numbers go up, and you don't like that, which is normal. I am a homeowner here in Brooklyn, myself. We all feel the pinch when our taxes go up. Here's the problem. The taxes are going up because the values are going up. And everyone knows what's happening all over the city, and particularly in Brooklyn. The real estate value is going up. The things that people own are becoming more valuable. And there is, when that happens, an increase in the assessment and therefore an increase in taxes, although it's capped each year. It's no more than 6%, Jacques? 6% increase each year. I understand how frustrating that is for people. What I've said, the one thing I can say to you for sure right now is that I am avoiding a property tax rate increase, meaning something we experienced twice in the last 15 years. Property tax rates went up, not your personal assessment. The rate for everyone went up, and everyone paid for that. And I've said that I am adamantly against a property tax rate increase, and the way I'm avoiding one is by being very careful about how I manage the city's finances and keeping a reserve fund so that if we have a tough economy or something, we have reserves, a rainy day fund that will allow us not to increase property tax rates. So that's the fundamental promise I make to you, that what I'm doing now, we can avoid that, certainly for any time in the foreseeable future. But I'm not going to lie to you about the assessments. The assessment situation right now, by law, continues to, whenever the value goes up, the assessment goes up. What I am willing to do, it's a big, big, big undertaking, and if Jacques Gihar had hair, he would lose it because of what I'm about to say. But we have to overhaul the entire system. It's a huge undertaking because it's not consistent, it's not transparent, and we need to figure out a way to create a fairer system, but also one that will allow us to run the city government, because those property tax dollars pay for police, pay for schools, pay for everything. That is going to be a huge and difficult and long undertaking. I'm willing to go at it, but that's not going to give you a result anytime soon. I want to be real with you. But what I can tell you is I am protecting against a rate increase, and that at least will keep some money in your pocket.
Okay, Mo, please.
Also,
and after that,
wait, Jacques Ted.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jacques.
We also should tell people to take advantage of the exemption programs that we have. We have a senior exemption program, and we also have disability exemption program for homeowners. And the filing deadline is tomorrow. So, oh yeah. So please call 311. You could get the application, or you could go on our website. But, well, the senior exemption program is a program that is available for any person who's 62 years old or older. So you could basically apply for that program, or if you're disabled, or if you're a veteran. Because at the end of the day, these are the only tools that we have. As property taxes go up, okay, the only tools that we have at our disposal is basically the exemption program that we have. So please take advantage of these programs. They don't have any income level for the senior, for the homeowner programs. For the homeowner program, they don't have any. For the renters, SCREE and DREE, it's basically if you're 62 years old and if you have a lease in your name, okay, and you make $50,000 or less, and you pay more than a third of your income in rent. So you qualified for, but you don't have that many rent-regulated apartments around this area.
If someone wants to apply, they call 311?
Call 311 or go to our website or go to any one of our business centers. We have 5 business centers throughout the city, and get the application.
Say it quickly in Creole.
Si nous besoin, nous gagnons c'est des programmes qui là pour tout le monde qui a payé et taxes ici. Et c'est aussi des exemptions programmes que nous gagnons. Programme là, il y a un programme les seniors chi. Donc nous-mêmes nous avons appliqué pour lui. Nous avons n'importe quel business center que nous gagnons ou bien nous avons les 311 ou bien nous avons visiter le website nous pour nous prendre avantage du programme ça. C'est 3 gros programmes nous gagnons. Nous gagnons senior citizen, nous gagnons disability et puis nous avons vétéran programme. Pour les gens qui louent caille, OK, qui louent caille dans rente régulée d'appartement, ça les côté appartement côté régulé, nous gagnons 2 autres programmes. Si un senior, sinon si grand monde, nous avons 62 ans, nous faisons moins de 50 000 $, ou bien nous payons plus que un tiers de revenus dans le loyer. Nous mettons appliqué pour le programme. Encore, nous disons, nous allons dans n'importe quel centre de business que nous gagnons, ou bien nous allons visiter 311, ou bien aller dans le website. Merci.
I want to just say, for just a Haitian pride moment, Jacques, how much revenue are you responsible for each year?
About $39 billion.
$39 billion. Okay, this is one Haitian American who's arrived. $39 billion he's in charge of.
All right. Excuse me, I'm going to take one person over here, one over here, and I come back here, okay? Mo, please.
All right, so
Yes.
this is the 3rd time he called my name. My name is Mo Razvi. I'm the Executive Director of Council of People's Organization, COPO. First of all, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. And I'm first-hand person who's been working with many of your commissioners, from Commissioner Banks to Commissioner Marco Carrion, Commissioner Ira Glickman, and Commissioner Corrado. Because of Commissioner Corrado, for the first time, we have a Muslim senior center because of the support that she's been giving to us.
Donna Corrado, you have to stand up because when we applaud you, we can't see you
There
unless you
she
stand
is.
up. There she is. Thank you. Well done. Well done.
So my thing is, I want to meet the other commissioners, and especially HPD.
Mo, you are in luck because they will be here all night long. They literally don't know where to go. They're just going to hang around in this room. It's going to be great.
So one of the biggest issues, or 2 issues that I really want to just questions and focus on is, one is, first of all, the block that we're on, it has a 20,000 square foot community center. That's our community center, COPO, and it has a mosque which has 10,000 square foot space. Because the block is so long, where you've been, and you've been there every year, every now and then, when we have that huge event, we want to try to put a traffic in the middle of that road so people can cross safely. 7-0, Captain James.
You mean a
been there.
traffic island kind of thing?
Not island kind of thing. I'm saying a traffic light or a
Okay.
walkway. Our wonderful ex-CEOs are here also, Eric, and so it's James. Well, now James is back with us again, and Mike Smith. Where's Mike Smith? So they are aware of the situation because of the safety that's needed. And most important thing, if it's there, they already did a study, DOT, and I think it would be wonderful for our community. Second, HPD commissioner. So we have, again, I'll say it again, 20,000 square foot space, which actually we were trying to see if we can make affordable housing, 150 to 60 units, affordable for seniors, we were assuming. But we were told it's not possible. And we really want to try to revisit that if it is, because our community really needs it and other community members really want that. Thank you.
All right, Mo.
Mo, so first of all, on the traffic, on the crosswalk, so DOT, where's Keith? Keith's going to look into that and come back with a report. On the affordable housing potential, Vicky, where do you say you have again, Mo? You have how big a space? Okay, Vicky, what?
Well, I'm going to ask you where it is, and then I'm going to look into it, because we look for space for our affordable housing anywhere. And I do want to say that one of the barriers to creating, for example, senior housing in those kinds of spaces is exactly the reason why we've worked with the City Council to pass the Zoning for Quality and Affordability bill that will be voted on next week, because it allows senior housing in a much broader range of places, and it makes it possible for us to get around many of the barriers, especially to senior housing, that were imposed by a zoning ordinance that's literally 40 years old. So let's revisit that. Hopefully the work that Councilmember Greenfield and others have done in the City Council to relieve some of those regulatory barriers will help us on that particular lot. But I'll get the address and we'll look into it. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. Jay, please.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you, man.
You got a microphone, Jay.
I'm a former teacher. I didn't even.
Oh, okay.
High school, 31 years. I've done cafeteria duty. My name is Jacob Gold. I'm the Democratic District Leader, 44th Assembly District, 3 blocks the other way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being here. Councilman Greenfield. Those of us who started as tenant organizers way back with, if you remember, your former board president, Marty Marcos. We are twins. I'm the younger one. Born same day, same month, same year. He claims I'm older because I was born in Europe 7 hours earlier. Therefore, I have more hair. I'm better looking than him. Am I right? Thank you. Right, you know? Thank you. Anyway, to my question. We have a wonderful concept in the ZQA, Zoning for Quality, which is continuity of care. As one of the relatives, I think it's a wonderful idea not to drag your relatives as the care increase demands from one building, from one facility to another. However, when you increase the bulk and the size of the floors, it also increases the traffic with the ancillary doctors, professionals, food deliveries, sanitation. It also impacts severely on the parking issue. And since we have a lot of senior citizens in our 44th Assembly District, is there some way of fine-graining the issue to get input from the community and as an impact on the environment within the surrounding area?
Yeah, look, this is an excellent question. Thank you, Jake. Thank you very much. Jake, look, council members have certainly been pushing this point very hard and looking for the right balance. But I do want to be a little hardline on this point because it gets back to the conversation I was having with this woman a moment ago about, tell me your first name? Agnes. Agnes's question raised one challenge we have about having to use every kind of affordable housing we have to the maximum and trying to be fair and trying to be balanced in that. But I mentioned earlier the reality with seniors. And I got to be very real about this. We're 8.5 million people right now in this city. We have the largest population we have ever had in the history of the city. 8.5 million. Bless you. 8.5 million is what Department of City Planning thinks is the truth, but it easily could be more. It could be more. And we account for almost 500,000 undocumented people when we say that, but it could be more. But everyone with eyes to see knows that this city is growing. And we also know the senior population is growing even more. So again, I think public officials owe you straight talk. We're becoming more of a senior city. And we could say, well, let's just sit on our hands and not do anything about it. But I think we have an obligation, and I would believe it's a moral obligation, to create a lot more housing for seniors. Now, seniors I talk to are much more interested in an affordable apartment than they are in a parking space. And if you say I've got an affordable apartment, but I don't have a parking space, I know a lot of seniors who would take that in a heartbeat. And of course, I understand there is a challenge for communities, Jake. I spend plenty of time in my neighborhood in Brooklyn when I drove myself in a kinder, gentler time. I would spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes a night easy looking for a parking space a lot of nights. I understand, but we've got to come to a decision in this city of what we value. If we don't create a lot more affordable housing, a lot of our seniors will not be able to stay with their families. They'll literally have to either leave town, they'll end up homeless, whatever. Certainly, they're going to have to find a way to pay for something they can't pay for. So this is a tough, tough decision. And we're trying to strike a balance within it. And wherever we can fine-tune it for each neighborhood's need, we will. But if this wasn't a crisis, if it wasn't a crisis, all the solutions would be easy. They really would be. If we didn't have the combination of growing population, growing senior population within it, and rents going through the roof, if we didn't have all those things happening at once, this would be a much nicer conversation. But that is the truth. And that's why we came up with policies that we think will actually give our seniors the maximum chance to find an affordable place to live.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gail Smith. I'm the third vice chair of Community Board 14. It was actually, just as a point of clarification, I'm actually here on behalf of our chair, Alvin Burke, and district manager, Sean Campbell. We actually are having our own monthly scheduled community board meeting tonight, hence every one of us not here. But nonetheless, I am thrilled to be here tonight. Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for coming to the 40th Council District and to Community District 14. Special thanks to Mathieu Eugene. I'm also one of his constituents, but for letting and allowing Community Board 14 to be one of the co-sponsors. While I didn't come to the ball either, I would be remiss if I did not recognize the Honorable Una Clark. We love you. Just quickly, Community Board 14 strongly supports the stated goal of the mayor's zoning initiatives to increase affordable housing. Community 14 hopes that the affordable income eligibility criteria in MIH can be broadened to include a lower income bracket than currently identified. Community Board 14 also urges the mayor to ensure that city services and infrastructure such as roads, schools, and sanitation collection are expanded to meet the needs of the growing population. In closing, we hope that as you know, we did submit our proposals previously on this, but we do hope that you do consider our added changes when you make your final determination. And finally, Captain Palumbo, welcome back to the 70th. We'll see you next month.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Yes, Miss.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deborah Sanders, and I am part of 1199 Mayor Blasio, Mr. Eugene, everyone in this room.
1199.
Yeah.
1199.
So I just want to be very clear on something. Our community, the housing situation is really deplorable, okay? Landlords are not taking their rents. They are evicting people. You cannot, because of regentrification, right? You cannot rent an apartment in Flatbush, okay? Downtown Brooklyn, okay, everybody knows. You live in the area, you know what I'm saying. I hope that the developers in these buildings that are going up, downtown Brooklyn, you have right here on Hawthorne and Flatbush, you have them coming into the area and not giving the opportunity for the community to rent. I'm very clear about the process that you're going to have to go through to get this affordable housing in the state of New York, with competing with Albany and so forth. But Mayor de Blasio, our community really needs housing, affordable housing, and not allowing landlords to refuse rents, to evict tenants just because they want a higher rent. $2,300 for a 2-bedroom apartment, $2,600. On Ocean Avenue, none of us can rent an apartment. I've been in this area since 1970. I know Flatbush when Flatbush was a business district. We kept our doors open on Hawthorne, all the houses. And it's really a crying shame to see that working class people cannot afford rents. So I hope that your commissioner and yourself and Eugene and the community really comes and fight to make sure that affordable housing is given to everyone. We all deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, you're hitting the core of the matter, so let me try and take what I said before and add something. The status quo that you describe doesn't work for this city, and we have to change it systematically. Now, at this point, people are so upset. They feel, in many cases, hopeless. They feel cynical about the situation. And I don't blame anyone who feels cynical as they watch opportunity being taken away. If they have fought for their own neighborhood for years and decades and believe it to be theirs for very good reason, and then they feel they can't even live in their own neighborhood, I understand that frustration deeply. It's happening all over the city. But we have to recognize that the response before this administration came into office, the response of the city government was to do absolutely, positively nothing. Let's be very clear. Yep. Gentrification is 15 or 20 years old as a phenomenon. And if you want to think about, you want proof for my statement, look at Bushwick or look at Bed-Stuy. There was no rezoning. Okay, for anyone who says, oh, the rezonings, I mean, I understand why people think a rezoning is going to create a whole host of problems. Let me give you the opposite to prove my point. Go to the places where there was no rezoning and tell me how wonderful it is. Bushwick is an entirely different reality than it was 10 years ago. People have been displaced en masse. Okay, so I would argue the worst thing to do in the face of these intense market pressures and this constant change, the worst thing to do is to do nothing, because it's happening and we have to address it. So what addresses it? Well, we said very systematically, protect the affordable housing we have. First, protect what you have. That's the 400,000 people who live in NYCHA. That's the 2 million plus people who live in rent-stabilized housing, who need protection in Albany, but also need to ensure that they don't get an unfair rent increase here, which is why we decided a rent freeze was actually justified this year. And that put money back in people's pockets. We said, stop the illegal evictions. The best tool, I can't send out a memo and say, everyone stop being illegal, right? I wish I could. But in fact, the reality is people will try to illegally evict. Landlords will try to illegally evict in some cases. The best thing we can do to stop it is give the tenant a free lawyer. And that's what we're investing $62 million in. And then I said, preserve in place affordable housing for hundreds of thousands of people right in their own apartment, give them the subsidies and give them support to stay in their apartment, and build new affordable housing where it has not existed before. And here's another thing that is a bit of a logical, when I hear people say to me, I'm concerned about your plan, I'm concerned about if there's bigger buildings, one thing or another, I say, I'm putting affordable housing where it doesn't exist. You are deeply concerned about new market rate, luxury buildings, whatever. I want to take land and build affordable housing on it that is guaranteed affordable for the long term with real standards, that are determined by the government, not the private sector. I want to take something that is not housing now and put housing on it. That's adding to the equation. So everything I've described is a response to the things you said. It is a response to gentrification. It's a response to skyrocketing rents. It is not perfect. It's not perfect. You know what perfect would look like is if a federal government was actually willing to be our partner the way they once were, where they would pour money into New York City and other cities to create affordable housing, for public housing, for Section 8 vouchers. That's been gone for 20 years. So we're on our own. We have to do everything we can do on our own to protect affordability in this city. That is our game plan. I am never going to tell you it's perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we had a few years ago. And we have to go farther and farther with it. And that's why this vote next week is so important.
Thank you very much, Professor Florinal.
Thank you. My name is Florinal. Thank you very much, Mayor, for coming here. And I salute you with all your team for the great work you're doing for New York City. As a council member, not council, assembly, Roman Bishop says, New York City, that's the capital of the world. Everybody is looking at us. And I'm here on behalf of Life of Hope Center, right there on Newkirk and Nostrand Avenue. At the center, I have many people come to me and tell me they have about like 4 to 5 children. They are living in one-bedroom apartment. As Council Member Matthew Eugene says, affordable housing, that's a really basic human right. And living with 5 children in one bedroom, that's outrageous. So I really would like to know what's the plan for those kind of people. They have a roof, definitely they have a roof, but it's like they didn't have anything on their head. The second problem, it's much more a corollary. It's good that we have houses for people. They can afford it, they can pay for it. But we have people also come and talk to me and say, they are almost 1 paycheck away from being on the street. Really 1 paycheck. And those, at least they have the house, 1 paycheck away, but we have people on the street. They wish the sun would never set because they don't know where to go at night. How do you plan to help those people on the street? And lastly, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Whoa. You can't do a 7-part question. Hold on. Hold on. Let's stop there because you asked very big questions. I'll try and answer quickly. You're very right about the people living 1 paycheck away. It's a lot of people in New York City. It's a lot of people in the United States of America, by the way. So the first thing I'll say is, everything I said, remind me your first name? Laura? Devora. I'm sorry, Devora. My apology. Everything I said to Devora, remember that what is different now also, on top of all that, is the mandate, if the city council votes this way, the mandate that affordable housing must be created as a condition of any rezoning, any new development that involves a rezoning. Whether it's a neighborhood being rezoned, whether it's an individual building being rezoned, for the first time in history, the private owner will be told, if you want to build that building, it must have affordable housing in it. That, for many thousands of families, will be a game changer. So we're trying to change the rules fundamentally. Now, to your question about what do we do for people 1 paycheck away? We have to keep raising their wages. We have to keep improving their benefits. That's how you do something for people. In this city, we have a living wage executive order to get money to people who are working for businesses that do business with the city. In this city, we provide paid sick leave to 1 million more people in the last few years by city law. We provided free pre-K for families. That would have cost them $10,000 to pay for it themselves. We provided free after school for middle school families. We've tried step by step to take some of the burden off. What we need to do now is raise the minimum wage, and it needs to go to $15 an hour. And that can only happen in Albany. It should happen in Washington, too, in my opinion, but right now it can only happen in Albany. And I'm fighting very hard, and a lot of people in this room are, too, I know. And our brothers and sisters 1199 are. So if you want people, I know you do, to not be one paycheck away, let's go to the heart of the matter. They need to earn more. They need to have the kind of benefits that will actually make them economically secure. Finally, for people on the street, we are instituting the strongest, biggest homeless outreach effort in the history of this city, or any city, starting this month. It's called Homestat. You'll see all over the city, if someone's homeless, they're going to be approached by trained Department of Homeless Services workers, by police officers who are part of a specially trained detail to work with the homeless. And we're going to try to help get homeless people into shelter, into whatever kind of shelter will work for them to get them off the street. And we're putting more resources into housing that can actually be a permanent, a solution that will be lasting for folks who are homeless. 15,000 apartments for folks who need supportive housing, which means maybe they have some other challenges that need to be addressed, and that's going to be part of the housing. And we've committed to that. All of it is going to take time. None of this is easy. We're all feeling the pressure of a crisis here. But we are not going to leave our brothers and sisters on the street. We're going to engage them and try and get them to a safer place.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Would you please?
Good evening, everyone. Is it on? Hello? Hi, I'm Nicole Joe, President of the Community Education Council for School District 17. I like to say I didn't come to the board, but I was one of the kids that watched it as the parents got ready. All right, welcome. I would like for all my parent leaders of District 17 to stand, Community School District 17. Staff, I'm joined here today. Our Superintendent Ellis, Superintendent Clarence Ellis, Margot Sargent, right, family leader, Dr. Lamb. Who else? Everyone here from PS6, welcome. This is my daughter's school and also my son's school. I don't want to hold you up. I want to thank you for everything that you've promised and given, but I want to talk to you about our universal lunch for all. We're here talking about senior citizens. Mommy, my mom is here. Hi, Auntie, right? So you got your answers, right? What I want to talk to you about is the temporary housing situation in our neighborhood, right? A lot of our students are here dealing with temporary housing. They cannot function, okay, because they're wondering where they're going to sleep tomorrow or a month ahead. So I need some answers, not only for me. I grew up here. I still live here. They speak about gentrification. I still see it. We welcome it. Right down the block, Tilden, right? We have a lot of temporary housing. We're addressing it. We've met Borough Hall, Eric Adams. I forgot to mention Miss Natasha Welsh, if she's still here, VP appointee to the council. We're talking about temporary housing, and I haven't heard about it. Our children are suffering. It's not their fault. What is going to happen? What is in place so that temporary is not permanent? Did I leave anything else?
Well,
I did ask for my parent leaders to stand up, right?
You did it. You did great.
Parent leaders, stand up.
You got it all.
We're here representing District 17.
So, first of all, thank you to everyone on the CEC at District 17. I'm a former school board member from District 15, so I thank everyone who's a member of the CEC and everyone who's involved in their children's education. I want to be straightforward with you, though. When you say that phrase, I want to hear your definition because I want to give you an honest answer. But the phrase temporary housing could mean more than one thing. I want to hear your definition.
Well, as I see it, temporary housing is supposed to be temporary.
But what literally describe, what do you mean? If you're saying shelter, say shelter. Shelter, okay.
Right, so we're talking about shelters, we're talking about doubling up, right? And we're talking about temporary housing.
Okay.
But I'm talking about what our children
No,
are going through. And just a piece on the universal lunch that when they're home, the school lunch is the biggest meal of the day.
Yes.
Because of their financial status and the whole, stigma behind free, a lot of our children cannot eat because they're made fun of, or not only by their peers, but also the adults. Because sometimes adults can be so mean, okay? So the kids will sit in school starving and just play it off as though, no, I'll eat when I get home. And a lot of them are hiding food in their bag because they have to take it home. Where we have breaks like a
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to start, and we have our Deputy Chancellor, Dorita Gibson, here, and obviously Steve Banks can also speak about the dynamics with shelter. Look, this is the question you asked raises a bunch of things simultaneously, so I'm going to try and break it down. The first is there's an affordable housing crisis, right? One piece of this, the doubled up and all, is because of an affordable housing crisis. Now, I believe everyone in this room has been listening carefully tonight, so I don't think I have to repeat to you all the things I'm trying to do to address that, but I have to be real with you. Long road. We're trying to create housing for 500,000 people. We've said we will give ourselves 8 years. Some of it will happen this year, some of it will happen next year, and so on and so on. But to undo what has been an affordable housing crisis growing over decades is going to take us time, and I'm not convinced we're going to reach everywhere we need to reach. I'm going to be real with people. But I know we can do a lot with the things I've just described, a lot. We can reach hundreds and thousands of people. So that's what we're doing right this minute. When you talk about the shelter reality, this pains me very deeply as a parent, because I immediately could say, if you have a stable home and you're raising a child in New York City, that's hard enough. That's hard enough. And there's so many challenges here, and parents especially, who are working and dealing with whatever other life challenges, even if you have a perfect stable environment, is still tough. But if you have that instability you describe, it gets much, much tougher. Our job is to get people out of shelter. So the part of temporary housing that is shelter, our job is to get people out of shelter. Now, there's 91,000 people who we helped to avoid shelter. We got to them and we did things that would help them stabilize their situation so they didn't end up in shelter. There's 22,000 people who were in shelter in the last 2 years that we got out of shelter and to permanent housing. Now, if I told you we'd reached 91,000 people before they fell into shelter, and we got 22,000 people out of shelter, you'd say, well, everything must be great in New York City. Guess what? After all that, there's still 58,000 people in shelter. And more, it is families. More than ever before, it is families. It's over 40,000 of the people in shelter are parents and children. And they are people who are working, which is not what it was yesterday. Yesterday, what we first understood as homelessness in the 70s, the 80s, was a single male, unfortunately, who had a drug or mental health issue. That's the reality. It wasn't working people, it wasn't families. Why has it changed? Because of the Great Recession, because of what we've seen with all over this country. People's wages and all have been stuck for years because the price of housing shot up. So this is an economic problem now. And so we now have 58,000 people in shelter, and a lot of them go to work each day, or they have been working recently, and they want to work again. To get to the bottom of that problem, it is build as much affordable housing as we can do, save as much affordable housing, stop as many evictions as we can, and raise wages and benefits and get more people jobs. That's how we actually can create the stability for those families so those kids don't have to go through that. But that is going to be a really powerful endeavor, but an endeavor that will take us years to build up and reach all the people we're intending to reach. Now to the lunches. So right now we've started with breakfast, and Dorita can talk about that. With lunches, I absolutely appreciate everything you said about the stigma question, and I believe there really are instances like that, and that pains me. I don't want to see that happen. We've started with middle schools, and we've tried to implement universal lunch. Well, and I'm going to tell you, year one was a mixed bag. The numbers didn't change much. I want, again, my job is to come here with my host and provide honest information. And people sometimes will believe in something and fight for what they believe in, but my job is to also tell you what we're seeing. The first year with the middle schools, we didn't see much change, even though it was universal access. But now we're acting at the elementary school level with breakfast. And we think this is an important part of the equation because, as you said, you want kids to not have to wait till lunch to be well fed. So The jury is honestly still out on how far we're going to go next on universal lunch, but we are looking at it very carefully because we want to see more results at middle school. But let me tell you what we're doing at breakfast. Dorita.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. It was nice seeing you again. You have a great superintendent, Superintendent Alice, and we want to make sure that children are not hungry. You know, children can't learn if they're hungry. That's the first thing that we know. But breakfast in the classroom, we've expanded. We have about 600 children that are getting breakfast in the classroom. But we've also tweaked it a little bit, meaning that if you come to school early, because we don't want children in the street, children need to be in a school. They need to be in the classrooms, need to be in the lunchroom waiting before school starts. They can also have breakfast. In terms of lunch, all children should have lunch. I think that we've done a lot more work with the middle schools on the after-school programs. You know, they're there. We want our children to be really in school or in a structured environment. I'm concerned when you say that they can't go into the shelters and they have no place to go and they shouldn't be. They should be in the street. You need to just let me know and let the superintendent know where they are, because we have schools that have after-school programs. We have community schools in District 17. Children need to be someplace. They don't need to be waiting. So we want to make sure that happens, and we'll continue to make sure the children are having lunch.
The numbers that you mentioned, because you said the standalone middle school. How many middle schools are left standalone in District 17? And I need to know the numbers, because you said that the numbers were a little off. So just let me know.
Now, look, we're happily share with you because we implemented it in the standalone middle schools. Honestly, advocates have said very emphatically, when you do this, all sorts of more kids will be taking up lunch, and it just didn't happen. And we're trying to figure out why, and we're trying to figure out what it means. So we did it the first year as a pilot to test it. We said we're going to do it a second year now to try and figure it out. But I want to make the point about breakfast. We've got to make sure that every parent knows that breakfast is available for their child, and more that's going to be not only before school, but we're working to try and get that in the first school period as well. But I want, on the question, I appreciate Dorita's point. If there's kids who don't have a place to go after school, we can help them. But let's come up here, Steve Banks. Are you saying it is a shelter that will not allow the children in after school? And if so, we need to know what it is.
Let me first say that I am a member of your community school planning committee. So I was there when the whole rolled out of the 100 community schools, for which I still go to the meetings and so forth. And I thank you, because we do have at least 3 community schools in our district. What I'm saying to you is that because of the time frames, even when it comes to parents attending PTA meetings and so forth, and we know they complain parents aren't coming out, there's a time limit that they have to get back in. So what we've done is implemented ways where we can give letters to say, well, they were at the PTA meeting, let them come. These are things that we're working on. The piece with the student, there's an example. The student is waiting in the cold every so often outside of a school. People see this child. One day it's so cold that he came inside. They ask him, why are you here? What's going on? And that's what he explained, that he cannot go home until his mom comes back from work because he's not allowed without a parent. One of the neighborhood shelters. One of the neighborhood shelters. I can speak to you at Tilden. Tilden. Is that better? Tilden. Right? So the person in charge helped the child with food and so forth.
We want to fix, listen to me one second.
Yes.
We want to fix the problem, and he's in charge of the shelters.
All right, so
if we know where
can-
the problem is, we can make sure that child doesn't have that experience.
So we can talk.
Great. And I have my colleague here with me. We're going to take down the information.
All right.
First of all, the problem of homelessness, as the mayor said, didn't happen overnight. It's built up over many years. Some of you may remember when I was at Legal Aid, we sued the city to provide shelter. So now part of the overhaul that the mayor directed 90 days ago is for us to look at every aspect of the system that's not working the way it should work. The problem you're raising, I've heard it all over 30 plus years. The problem you're raising is somewhat of a new one, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't solve it. We're going to take down your information in terms of exactly what the location is. We'll follow up with the shelter, see what the situation is.
Not a problem.
Because parents should not be barred from going to PTA meetings because of shelter rules. Kids should not be left, bouncing between the school
Am I
and the
making
shelter.
sense?
I hear you. I'm not
Okay,
disputing you. I just
all
need to
right.
know more of the facts so I can actually try to solve it.
I will definitely share that
Okay,
with
terrific.
you. Thank
and my
you.
colleagues right there is going to follow up with you to get information. Thank you.
Let me affirm that town hall meetings are where we fix problems. So that's why this is why I will press people. If you know something we need to know, literally, you've got everyone who's going to fix the problem sitting in the room right now. That's why, and if it's something that you want to tell them more individually, that's fine. But the problem solvers are right here. We don't want to leave this room tonight not solving problems.
Good, good. Miss, please.
First of all, I would like to my president would like to apologize for omitting to welcome our councillor. My name is Rosemary Evering. I'm from Lefferts Garden, president of my association. I see, Mr. Mayor, where you have our finest, members of our finest and our strongest. So I want to tell you, gentlemen, that we appreciate your community spirit, and I see our community leaders. But at the same time, I'd like to ask you two questions. When it comes to mental health and homelessness, where are we there? Because I have a family member who has that problem, and I know the challenges that security officers have when they come and hear that somebody is going off. What are the pointers that you're giving, to help us with our problems, and also to the health commissioner? We have this disease that we hear about now. What is being a Zika?
Zika. Okay.
So could you please
I'll
address
start
this
on
for
mental
me?
health, and Dr. Bassett will talk about Zika. Okay. So very quickly, my wife Charlene has started an initiative, and it's called Thrive NYC. And this is going to be an entirely different approach to mental health in this city. And it is in the best of hands because my wife is running it. So we recognize that this city has really not had a mental health policy. We haven't had a mental health system. We've had a huge number of problems caused by mental health challenges. Guess what happened? Police had to deal with them. Teachers had to deal with them. Shelter had to deal with them. Rikers Island. But the problem at the core was not addressed. This is, if you think about it, so illogical, so immoral, that people had a problem that is no different from a physical problem, right? We all are born with our bodies, and we have physical problems, either we're born with or we get over time, and no one says, oh, you broke your leg, there's something wrong with you, right? Or no one says, you're 5'5", there's something wrong with you. Your physical reality is accepted more than your mental health reality. But there is 1 in 5, the figure's amazing, 1 in 5 New Yorkers are afflicted by some type of mental health need. So instead of having a policy, instead of having a strategy, we just swept it under the rug. And then on top of that, this community, not this community, the whole society has stigmatized, right? Which takes a problem and makes it worse. So my wife has said, we're going to consciously and energetically destigmatize with everything we've got. We're going to go at the problem when it is at its root, particularly when children are young. And that's why community schools are so important, because they have mental health in the schools, mental health services. We're going to train people, as you said, to identify the problem. 250,000 people, 250,000 people will be given mental health first aid. And I want to encourage, when it's available, I want to encourage everyone in this room, take advantage of it. Again, physical, you go to the Red Cross, you get a first aid class if someone is having a physical problem. There is a version of that for mental health, to teach people how to see the signs and get help. We're going to start something called NYC Support, which is literally a phone number you can call, and instead of it just being a place that gives you a referral, this is a place where you get a human being who says, okay, this is what you need, here's where you go, and then they stay with you, they stay in touch with you to make sure you're actually getting the treatment. This is going to take time, but as we do it, we're going to get to a lot of these problems early and better and help avoid much worse problems. So that's the mental health piece. Over to Dr. Bassett to tell us about Zika.
All right, thanks. What
So
people
let me
need-
just say, Dr. Bassett, she just made Ebola look easy. So she's going to tell you now about Zika.
Zika is a virus, but it doesn't spread from person to person the way Ebola did. So what people in New York need to know about Zika now is that there are many countries in Latin America and the Caribbean where Zika is being transmitted. It's transmitted by mosquito bites, and overwhelmingly by mosquito bites. So if you're a woman who's pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, you should not travel to those areas that have ongoing Zika transmission right now. We recommend against it. And if you come back from those areas and you want to be tested, that testing is available to you for free and we'll do it at our health department. There's no risk of Zika right now in New York City because it's not mosquito season. But mosquito season is coming, and we're going to get prepared. We're very hopeful, but we want to be sure that we're ready. Chikungunya never came here. Dengue never came here, even though they spread in other places. So the main message right now is for pregnant women who travel to areas where Zika transmission is ongoing.
And let me try one other piece on Zika. Doctor, stay here because I want you to be my doctor. So, we've many times had to explain things, and I learned to be the amateur doctor, and she's the real doctor. So right now, the actual mosquito, the specific type of mosquito that spreads Zika is not present in New York City, okay? Right. And we hope it stays that way. There's been no recorded evidence of that particular type of mosquito here. There is another mosquito that's like a cousin that is here, but has not been shown to spread Zika. But we are keeping a very close eye to make sure it stays that way. So as the doctor said, mosquito season is going to begin soon. We're going to be monitoring closely. We're going to look for anything that looks like it may be Zika. If we found anything, we do have methods to go at it and try and eradicate. But the good news, and again, I want you to tell me if this is right, is that the specific mosquito that spreads it is not present here right now.
That is correct. And the other thing to tell people is this is a mild disease. People who get it may have very few symptoms or no symptoms, and they get better from it. It's not pleasant, but they recover from it rapidly. The reason we're so worried about it is because it seems to affect the babies. So that's why we have this recommendation. The vector, as we call it, the mosquito that's here in New York City, we have had no signs that it's had chikungunya, that it's had dengue, or that it's has Zika. So we don't have the mosquito in New York City that's been spreading it all over Latin America and the Caribbean.
And we're not giving it a visa either.
We're not giving it a visa.
All right. Sir, please.
Good evening. Mayor de Blasio, thank you for coming to our community. Councilman, thank you for inviting me. My name is Benjamin Gaspard. I want to change the topic a little bit. I'm a minority contractor in the Flatbush area. I've been in business since 1980. I was one of the very first contractors that went to the HPD program to minority contractor to give him, make sure that he was qualified to be sure the HPD project. Over the years, we have done quite a bit of work, big and small. We try to do the best we could. What I found out in the market now, as we went to the 80, when the market crashed up to now, when the market started coming back, is the lack of opportunity for the minority contractors. Several of my friends that have been in the industry for years, good contractors, good track record, are blocked out of the market. It looks like more cronyism is going on in the market. Some of the jobs that we have gotten as recently as this summer, there's a Build Back New York program I was invited to participate in. And I went in there, the contractor told me, oh, all I have is 20 grand to put this building up. I want to see if he could do it. And we did it. By the end of the day, we wound up not doing it. Some of the commissioners here probably recognized me from that side. He was a guy with Sun Beach. Was glad to do the project because one of the person that was doing for was a firefighter that was hurt in September.
Let me hear the question. What are you interested in?
The question is what is it exactly that HPD plan to do to have minority contractors to really participate on this project, all this project that's going on in the city? Because one of the biggest questions I realize is that they are putting block after block insurance issue in front of small contractors.
Okay.
To give us.
No, I got the question. Look, we're very adamant, and I thank you for the question. We're very adamant that we want more and more opportunity for minority and women-owned business. Greg Bishop is responsible, SPS, for certifying, and SPS is certifying more businesses than ever before. HPD and many agencies have opportunity. So Greg and Vicki, speak to how we can maximize opportunity, and specifically with HPD.
I do get invite. It's easy to get my name out of the directory, MBE, minority, WMB. My wife is part of the company. The send us no invite. And we bid on those jobs. And the fact of the matter, when we bid on those jobs, we never heard back from anybody. They take our numbers and we use the numbers for other purpose, but we do get invited. But it's just like the playing field, all of a sudden now to a point where we get to say, what are we bidding on this job?
Let me have both of them speak to it.
So I'll speak on the overall MW program, and I'll make sure I get your card and follow up with you directly. So at SBS, we help minority and women-owned businesses compete for city contracts. So in your specific cases where if you're competing with other agencies, you're not hearing back, or you are having issues with bidding, we have a set of services to help you with that. We advocate for you as an MW contractor, so we'll sit down with you. It sounds like you have a lot of experience, so we'll check your capacity and connect you to other opportunities. HPD, I think, has a number of programs that Vicky will talk about, but there's a program that we actually started where MWB contractors can bid exclusively on till work. There's other opportunities outside of HPD that I think I should connect you to and make you aware of. So I'll get your information after this.
So thank you for the question. So I'm proud to say that HPD contracts, the contracts that you're talking about, we have about 45% of them are now going to MWBEs. We want to get that number up even higher. We're doing a variety of things across the agency to make sure that people are trained, to make sure that people are getting feedback if they're bidding and not winning, that they get feedback about what's going on and what they could do to improve their bids, what they could do to be more competitive. So I'm happy to talk with you, happy to work with you directly and get your advice about anything that we're not doing, but we're really trying to both make sure that there are capacity building opportunities available to help people, be successful in those bids.
And Greg will set up a personal meeting with you to follow up.
Okay, thank you very much. We're running out of time. We're going to take 3 more questions, and after that, we're going to wrap up. All right? Yeah. So there's a lady, she has been asking for a long time. Could you please, miss?
Good evening, everyone.
Who's that with you?
This is Nyambi.
Is Nyambi going to answer a question too? Ask a question too?
She will later on. Thank you for having this town hall. My name is Aura. I'm an employee of CAMBA. So thank you, Caitlin. Can you raise your hand? I've never seen her before.
Caitlin.
Oh, she invited us. Oh, okay. I'm coming over there to say thank you in person. But I am an employee of CAMBA. I'm originally from Harlem. I'm in Brooklyn now. I love it here. Thank you. But I am here also because I feel like a forgotten population. So there's talk about low income. There's talk about seniors. There's talk about people who are mentally ill. There's talk about people who have the politically correct term is a substance use disorder. Mm-hmm. There's talk about persons that make below $46,000. I concur with the sister that talked about the children in shelter. I have a lot of experience. I've worked in several shelters. I've been a special ed teacher. And 2 questions I have. The first question is, what about those persons who have no disabilities?
Right.
They are working.
Working people.
I am a young family.
Yep.
I cannot afford to live in Harlem. That's why I'm in Brooklyn, but I'm glad that it's nice here. There are several buildings going up in my neighborhood. I live in Bushwick, and the only reason why I'm there is because I'm affiliated with, a church. I got a hookup, basically. And I asked about a building, and it's $3,000 for a studio. So I want to know, when you say I'm going back to that because I didn't hear my demographic mentioned. I didn't hear my income mentioned. I don't make $100,000, but I do, between me and my husband, we make more than 46. But I don't see that in any of the housing lotteries. I don't see that income range in InHop and LAMP, because I'm doing this every day for my clients.
I got you.
The next question I have is, I have clients who are in shelter. They're getting vouchers, but landlords are not accepting them. So what is the city going to do? Or is there something that the city, can they mandate that a percentage be accepted, because they're not accepting?
I understand. That's why I was, so both these points we we spend a little bit of time on, but we should say it more clearly. First of all, Niambi is amazing. Niambi is like the mellowest child. Niambi's been here the whole time? That's like a super baby. She is... Niambi went to her first town hall meeting at the age of 9 months. All right, there you go. That's a good citizen. That's a good citizen. Okay, on the first point, yes, there is affordable housing in our plan for people who make between $46,000 and say, you know, 80, 90, 100,000. Yes, and we said it earlier, for nurses, for custodians, for people who work for the city, for firefighters, for teachers. Yes, that is part of our plan. We announced the plan in May of 2014, and we showed literally all the different pieces of the plan. And there's a big piece of it that is also for working people who don't qualify for lower income housing but can't afford what's on the market. So the answer is yes, but it's still lottery and all that, but it does exist. It is being built, and it is some of the units we're preserving as well. On the question of Section 8, it's illegal. I'm going to say it again. It is illegal for a landlord to reject someone on the basis of the income they have. So if what they have is a Section 8 voucher, and a landlord says, I'm not going to give you this apartment because of a Section 8 voucher, that's illegal. Say again? Any kind of income, any kind of subsidized, thank you, subsidized income, you have a right to use that. And it is illegal in New York City. It's not true in other places, but here it is illegal to turn someone away. That's why I said if you see an ad that says no programs, no Section 8, that's illegal right there. And they can be fined for it, and the specific tenant can be given restitution. So our friends from Human Rights Commission, put up your hands again. Okay, it's good. Pascal's going to come over and talk to you directly, because if we know anyone who's in that situation, we want to help them get what they deserve, which is that apartment and/or money back.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Miss, she has been waiting for a long time. Would you please?
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Adele Bennett. I'm a member of Community Board 17. I am a committee member with Housing, Transportation, and Public Safety. My question is in regard to Department of Buildings. In my area, there's a luxury building going up. Luxury, that means it's not affordable for anybody in this room. Nobody. They came to our board last month and asked for a waiver to work on Sundays. We all voted no, but we caught them working anyway. I went there personally and even videotaped it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we correct this
where's
situation?
Ira? Stand up, Ira. Okay, in terms of what is allowed on Sundays and what does it mean that the community board voted against it?
Okay, on Sundays, you are allowed to get an after-hour work variance permit.
Speak English, please.
That means...
Yes, I know what it is.
You may know, but the rest of us
I'm going
might.
to explain to everybody. When you get a work
No.
permit, you can work Monday through Friday from 7 in the morning to 6 at night. And if you want to work after those hours, we give you what's called an AHV, after-hour variance. So those variances, if somebody is working within 200 feet of a residential area, we do not give you the permit.
Okay, and the community board, and what does it mean? I'm sorry, 1 second. What does it mean also when the community board votes against something like that? What does that mean in the process?
Well, we take special action.
Okay, so you're saying it's near a residential
Yes,
site?
it's right across the street from it.
I will meet you after this meeting. You'll give me the address, and we will make sure they get no more after-hour variance.
I want to do even better, Ira.
What?
I want Ira to go to the address with you and see for himself.
I will be there.
Perfect.
I will be there.
All right. That would be absolutely wonderful.
I do also want to explain that even if a construction project is within 200 feet, there are certain times when we have to give you an after-hour variance. If they're erecting a crane, you don't want them to erect a crane.
But whatever the case, no, I appreciate it.
Well, we told them, and...
Okay, just let me make clear. Ira's the head of the Brooklyn office.
Yes.
He's the law.
Yes.
He's going to go to the site with you,
Yes.
see with his own eyes,
Yes.
and if it's wrong, if it's illegal, he will throw the book at him. Yes. Okay.
They need something thrown at them.
All right.
Thank you. Now, the last question. All right.
It's the
Two
moment
more,
of
that's
decision.
it.
You got to decide.
All right. One over here, Miss Evelyn. Would you please? And after that, I come to you.
Wait, she had one already. She had it already. She had a question already.
Yes.
Yes, that long question before. Give it to someone else.
Take it from her?
Give it just politely because she had a question already.
All right.
I am going to be.
We got to get a consensus over here.
I'm going
it
to be
seems
very
that
quick.
the people are.
I'm going to be very, very quick. I just want to say
she spoke
to the
already?
mayor. No,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to have the mayor recognize 71 precinct, which there's community affairs officer there, and we work in the community very well with our precinct.
Thank you.
We want to also recognize Brooklyn Borough South, Mr. Tommy Hill, who we work with. And as you said earlier about the community policing, I want you to know that there are community affairs officers that are already working with the community. 71 and Borough South is one of them.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you, our council member, Matthew Eugene. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, now this is truly the last question. Can we vote on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Vote.
All right.
Don't offer a vote.
Okay.
All right. That's it. All right.
Now, wait a minute. Let me
Wait.
say something. Eugene, I just want to make this clear to everyone. This is like you're at the party. But because all of the commissioners are staying, there's going to be an after party.
After party.
So if you're cool, you go to the after party.
All right, so please.
I love my running joke. I just love it.
Good evening.
Please, could you state your name, please?
Good evening. Okay, good evening. My name is Valerie Hollingsworth.
Wait a minute, something's not working there.
I don't think it's... Okay.
There you go.
Can you... Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Hollingsworth, and I am the Land Use Chair from Community Board 17. So I want to, first of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming out, because you're very, very busy, so we appreciate you coming out and talking to the community. My concern is just, it's an observation really more so than a question, that under your initiative, wanting to have affordable housing in those areas where there may be open spaces that builders are going to put up structures and allot some of those units to affordable housing. My observation is that in some of these areas, I'm seeing within a span of maybe 2 blocks, these big, large storage facilities that are coming up. And those storage facilities, one of those units could possibly be the price of an apartment for someone. So I guess my concern is that, I mean, I know it's not something that can be stopped now because, of course, you see these facilities already up. But in my neighborhood, I observed that there were 2 within like maybe a block and a half, these big safe storage, huge facilities that take up a lot of space that could possibly a unit or a building that could service people, you know, especially people that are displaced or, you know, people that can't afford to live where they are now could possibly go someplace else where it may be a little bit less cheaper.
All right, let me speak to that. I appreciate it. It's a good observation. So let me speak to this question, and I'll wrap up while I'm doing it. First of all, again, thank you to everyone for caring so much about the community, spend all this time here and all the passion of the questions and the concerns. I got to tell you, I know you could talk about a lot of issues, and I know that we've just had a sampling of the issues in the community tonight. But it is also a very good indication that there are not concerns being raised first and foremost on safety. And I know there's always challenges and there's always more work to do. But it is a great tribute to the NYPD that we're focused on a lot of other issues besides safety. A few years ago, we probably would have been talking more about safety, but the NYPD has made us a lot safer. So let's give them all a round of applause to thank them. And wherever I go, I say they aren't finished. They aren't finished. There's going to be 2,000 more officers. There's better training, better technology than ever. You're going to see an even safer city because of the great work they're doing. On the question here, so we've talked a lot this evening about every tool we're going to use to create affordable housing. Now, I wish I had a magic wand. And I don't mean that to be coy. I'm saying I wish when you say something like, look at that storage facility, I wish I could say, nope, you can't build that. You have to build housing. The free market comes with its joys and sorrows. And I think sometimes the frustration people feel is because the private sector has, under our laws, many, many things they get to do that the government doesn't have any role in whatsoever. And that frustrates me, to be very honest with you, because I see a lot of irrational stuff happening. There's so many people need housing. I wish we had a system that actually addressed human needs rather than so often the profit needs of a few people. But that's our reality right now. In the city of New York, we have the power compared to many other places. We at least have some power to rebalance that equation, to create more fairness. We have some of the resources to invest in creating affordable housing and subsidizing affordable housing. And we have the power under the law, and this is why what the City Council is talking about right now is so powerful, to do something that's never been done in any major city in the country, and literally say, we're going to require the creation of affordable housing when a developer's building a big building. That's going to really change the playing field. But we are not at the point where we could say anything that's being built, we get to dictate what it is. That's not real. What we can do is where we have land that has not yet been used, is do the things, intervene in the ways we can to try and greatly increase the chance it will turn into housing, as opposed to some other use, and turn into affordable housing especially. You see all over the city there are vacant lots, even to this day, and there are places that could be housing. There are abandoned buildings, even to this day, that could be housing. And the folks at HPD and the other agencies are constantly working to figure out where's the next place that they can turn into housing. There is that urgency. Doesn't allow us to reach everywhere, but we're going to find a lot of places and unlock them and turn them into housing. By the way, there are people all over the city who can help us do it. I've talked to a lot of ministers lately who said they have a church parking lot they want to turn into housing, or an unused building they want to turn into housing. And we say, come on down to City Hall, because we want to figure out how to do that with you. So that's where we're trying to go. But let me thank everyone. Look, all the work we're trying to do here, it's not going to be easy, but I can tell you one thing. I'm committed, and everyone sitting in these rows is committed to a more livable city, a safer city, a more affordable city, and we will stick with it. And I thank you, and thank you for being our partners in that.
Before you go, I want one more time to express my thanks to each one and all of you, all the partners. And also, I want you to put your hand together one more time for our mayor, the Honorable Bill de Blasio, for every wonderful thing, all the effort that he is making to make New York City a better place for all of us, where we can live with our families and raise our children and create a legacy for generations to come. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. May God bless you.
Thank you so much.